Love is an aspect in everyone's lives. You can have a strong passion for something or just truly love another individual. It is an involuntary action and can come on at a moment's notice.
Passionate love is said to come from the arousal of a stimulus. This can be a person directly or an environment you are in. This type of love is very goal-oriented and is associated with regions in the brain relating to the reward center.
Passionate love deals with arousal and rapid growth of self-experience in a new relationship. If you are in this type of love, you would find it hard to concentrate on other activities, feel desire to be in close contact with that person, and be thinking of idealized love of that person.
Romantic love, on the other hand, is more focused on the person's well-being. You would be very focused on the other person's enjoyment and exclusiveness of the relationship.
When you are in a romantic love, you see your partner as idealized and almost godlike. When you are with your partner, you take the little things for granted and just enjoy each other's company.
This leads us to a big question. Was it love between Romeo and Juliet, or just lust? We try to get to the bottom of this, but in the end, who knows what Shakespeare was trying to get at.
Romeo and Juliet was written by William Shakespeare in 1595. While most everybody has heard of Romeo and Juliet, not everybody has heard of the tragical history of Romeus and Juliet.
You may ask, what is that? Well, the tragical history of Romeus and Juliet was an English poem written by Arthur Brooke in 1562. You may then be thinking, I thought Shakespeare wrote Romeo and Juliet. He did, but it was very heavily influenced by Brooke's poem.
The main derivations Shakespeare took from the original poem were in the minor characters, but some changes to the central characters were made as well. Shakespeare's tragic play is of the two young teenagers who meet at a party, specifically a masquerade ball, think they are in love, and end up committing suicide for one another.
The lovers are from opposing families, making their relationship forbidden, forcing them to meet in the dark of the night and keep everything a secret.
Throughout the play, they claim they love each other, repeatedly, yet they are only 16 years old and have most likely never truly experienced love before.
On to lust. One of our sources listed lust as a product of desire and appetite. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary says lust is a strong feeling of sexual desire. This is the first image result when searching lust on Google.
While not all lust is described by that image, you can probably get the general idea.
The two lovers, Romeo and Juliet, may not really love each other, but may simply have this strong desire and appetite to be with the other, either sexually or emotionally.
One instance in the play is the timeline of events. After meeting less than 24 hours ago, Romeo and Juliet are already set to marry each other.
That is, as most people see it, not enough time to decide if you truly love someone or not.
Lust is commonly associated with strong sexual desires. While we do not believe that Romeo was attempting to protect himself from being destroyed by Juliet's sexual powers, there were definitely strong sexual feelings between the two, as it is assumed from the play that the two had sex after their marriage.
This leads to the most important question in our research. Do Romeo and Juliet really love each other, or is it just a lustful relationship?
So, love or lust? Well, in this case, it's not as black and white as it may seem. Placing Romeo and Juliet's relationship into either of these categories is quite difficult.
When it comes to love and lust, it isn't really a situation of, over here we have the different types of love, and over here we have lust.
More so, it is like one big Venn diagram, a melting pot of emotion where there is overlap not only between the different types of love, but between those types of love and lust as well.
Don't get us wrong. We're not saying that there aren't cases where it is obvious whether two people are in love or lust, but we're focusing on Romeo and Juliet, so shush.
One main reason that it is so difficult to place Romeo and Juliet into a category of love or lust is because within the story Shakespeare defines love in his own way.
Cotterman wrote that in Romeo and Juliet, love is quite clearly explained as being a struggle for freedom and self-realization. In this, we have a definition of the love between Romeo and Juliet.
Rather than a love driven by passion for one another, we see a love driven by a passion for oneself.
Rather than a love driven by enjoying the other's presence, we see a love driven by the excitement and adventure of self-discovery.
Rather than a love driven by commitment and exclusivity, we see a love driven by a yearning for freedom.
It all comes down to one thing. No matter how hard we try to define it or place it into categories, love is subjective. It is something that changes from person to person and from situation to situation.
Based on Shakespeare's definition, Romeo and Juliet are in love, but that may not be the case for someone else.
In conclusion, we feel that true love itself is tied to the Aristotle appeal of logos, while lust, on the other hand, is related more closely to the appeal of pathos. Logos, as we know, is facts, while pathos is emotional.
A person loves, they are able to back it up with reasoning, but when a person is tied to something through lust, it is not backed by reasoning. but rather pure emotional aspects. We also feel that love is a very selfless act, caring not about oneself, but about the other person in the relationship.
In contrast, lust is a selfish act. Perhaps when Shakespeare wrote Romeo and Juliet, he found a new type of love, or at least a new way to describe a type of love that has been overlooked and previously undefined.
While we analyze the relationship in Romeo and Juliet, these findings can be applied to many other relationships in the past, present, and future. The differences between love and lust are applicable to the majority of people around the world, and while one person's love may be another's lust, one person's lust may be another's love.
No matter how many plays are written about it, or how much research is done on it, we may never know an answer to the age-old question, what is love?